Hi friends, my name is Brooke and welcome back to Pippa & Co. Today's video is going to be kind of intention and goal setting for 2026 and I'm really excited to be making this video. I got into knitting due to not only the craft but also the way in which knitting requires you to be very mindful about the things you're spending your time making. You know, if you're willing to spend weeks to months working on a knitting project, that means you must really want that piece in your wardrobe. And as someone who is always trying to be eco-conscious in the way I am adding to my closet, the idea that, you know, if I see something out at a store and I, take a picture of it and I tell myself, if I really want it, I'll knit it for myself. That really helps prevent an impulse purchase. I'm feeling very inspired by Isabella at Breathing Yarn. In the midst of watching all of people's 2025 knitting years in review, 2026 knitting plans videos, her videos that she made in 2025 about utilizing your personal style and your current closet to conceptualize your goals for your knitting, both in terms of the cuts of your knit pieces and the colors that you're choosing to knit. She really, I think, made just like a very compelling series of videos, which I'll link below, that really go through how to bring an additional level of intentionality to the knits you're creating. And I think those videos really resonated with me. I ended up following along with the cues in the video and, looked through my Pinterest board, made myself a color palette, and I think tried to use that to frame how I'm approaching my makes in the next year. So I thought, I was very eager to sit down and make this video for you all, going through my make 9. It's definitely a very soft make 9, but my make 9, but then also the gift knits I hope to knit this year. And as a testament to that eagerness, as you can tell, it is nighttime, and I was like, maybe I should wait until there's better natural lighting that I could get a real, and then I was like, you know what? I'm so excited to talk about my ideas. And in these winter months, I leave for work in the dark. I get home in the dark. I'm sure that is not unique to me. I'm sure many of you resonate with that. And so I was like, they're gonna meet me where I am. And where I am right now is in the pitch black of winter. So yeah, so let's get right into it. While I was following along with Isabella's videos, I ended up following her guidance that she proposed for making your own color palette. I am a gal who has always envied those who can go out and get their personalized color analysis done. I'm sure many of you can relate. I've drooled over the videos of people going and having their swatches drawn and, oh, this color is the most flattering on me. A dream. I do not have the money for color analysis at this point in time. I graduated grad school this past year, and so the few $100s that it typically costs to get your color analysis done was just not something on my 2026 bingo card. So I decided, I'm gonna follow her guidelines and make my own color palette. I will pop my color palette up here. And I think basically most of the colors in this color palette really correspond with a deep winter color palette. And so I've gotten, when I've done like the AI color analysis things, I've been told I'm a deep winter or a deep autumn. And I think I could buy either. So I kind of generated this color palette thinking about the items that are already in my closet that when I wear, I feel particularly beautiful in. And so who knows if they're actually the most flattering on me, but they're colors I love and colors that I think possibly are at least somewhat flattering. So I figured, pending my color analysis this will have to do. One of my goals is to try to use this color palette as kind of my guiding light as I'm entering this year and trying to select colors that are either specifically from this palette or variants on this palette for the pieces I make for myself, of course. Besides my color palette goals, I also have the goal of aligning the patterns I'm choosing to my goal personal style. And so I would say my personal style tends to lean, or like what I'm envisioning for the future of my closet is feminine matched with like modern. In terms of like the cuts and the design details. If you're following the Kibbe body types, I am definitely more within the like flamboyant natural body type where I have broad shoulders and my shoulders are the broadest part of me, but I'm also quite tall. I have long limbs. So things that tend to be more flowy with more drape are more flattering on me. So I'm thinking about things that have drape, things that have open necklines. So trying to combine those color interests with those fashion preferences as I'm entering this year. And so with that, let's talk about my Make 9 for 2026. As you can see, my Make 9 is missing a few things. There's a few question marks on there. And I think I'm a gal who likes to set herself up for success. And so I think by giving myself some vague spots, it's leaving some room for creativity. And as you can see, there's also a few spots on my Make 9 that have a little asterisk at the top that says or similar, because I want to give myself room to be inspired by patterns that come out, but the goal is to make something in that general genre of piece. And so let's talk about all of these pieces that I'm hoping to make this year. Number one is the Holly off the shoulder sweater by Trine Ellegaard. And if you watched my last video, you will know that I've already gotten started on this. And fortunately, I got started on it in a color that is from my color palette. So I was very prepared, obviously. So it felt only right to include this in my Make 9 because it's something I am making and will hopefully finish by the end of 2026. And so this sweater is an off-the-shoulder sweater. I'm making it in this beautiful maroon color. So I'm knitting this in Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Merlot and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Claret. And I'm really very pleased with how this sweater is coming out. We are, at the time I'm filming this, it is January 18th, and I cast this on right after Christmas. So I'm feeling like this is on track to hopefully be finished by the end of the month. My dream is to wear this. My birthday is in February, and my dream is to wear this for my birthday. And, you know, it's a really beautiful sweater, has bell sleeves. And so I have one sleeve left to go, and then I'll finish off the body and possibly lengthen the ribbing that's kind of right along the top. Here's those bell sleeves with a rolled hem. And so yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. I think this is fulfilling a desire to have knit pieces that I feel I can wear out and about. So the Holly off the shoulder sweater is the first stop in trying to incorporate interesting cuts, off the shoulder that accentuates my shoulders in a way that I enjoy, the bell sleeves, the color that is on my palette, but then also thinking about this as a knit that I can wear out. I can wear this to, a fancy dinner. I can wear this to go get drinks, and it's, fitting into that modern New York City feminine style that I really enjoy, a touch of elegance to a knit piece. The second piece that is on my Make 9 this year is the Eurus sweater by Aegyo Knit. This sweater has been on my list of sweaters I want to make for more than a year now. I have had the yarn in my stash since my last birthday, and I just never got around to making it. Fortunately, the yarn I picked is also in my color palette, so You know, that's what I'm saying. This color palette that I've generated for myself aligns not only with what my color season might be, but also aligns with what I actually prefer to wear and the colors I gravitate towards, which feels pretty powerful to me. And so the things that drew me to this sweater, again, interesting cut. I love that it takes a very classic cabled sweater and turns it on its head, where now you have the cables going from sleeve to sleeve, like the cables run from one wrist to the other wrist. And so it's giving that kind of modern flair. It has an interesting cut. I haven't decided how I want the neckline to be yet, so we'll see. And then of course this color, this is Cascade 220 in, I think this was like gray heather or something, but it's color 8401. And so very excited to cast this one on, hopefully as soon as I finish my holly off-shoulder sweater. The next pattern that is on my Make 9 is the Clematis sweater by Maier, and I am feeling extremely confident that this will be a sweater that I knit before the end of this year. I got a gift card to Wool & Co. from my aunt for Christmas, and I already have my eye on Knitting for Olive for knitting this. I'm hoping for this sweater to hold a silk mohair and the fingering weight merino together to give like a very drapey fabric. And I'm hoping to use a light blue color for both. So I think as of right now, I'm really enjoying icy blue. That's one of the ones I like. I also like the, there's like a dusty blue. It's not the dusty dove blue. There's another dusty blue. And so, you know, still kind of eyeing the different icy blue colors, but I think in an icy blue, I am also anticipating that I'm going to close the button band until it gets to about my hip, and then we'll have it be open and actually have like real functioning buttonholes there, because I anticipate I'll always basically want it buttoned. And I want to knit it longer than the pattern. I want to really accentuate that button band, and then once it reaches my hip, have it open so it kind of, you know, creates an interesting shape. And so I'm really, really excited about this project. I'm envisioning also putting way more buttons than are called for in the pattern. One of my dream brands that I am just constantly drooling over is Susanne, and I love that in some of their jumpers they use way more buttons than is necessary. Specifically like in their designs that have tortoiseshell buttons, little tortoiseshell buttons, and there'll be a ton. And so I'm envisioning something like that where it's just like way too many buttons, but gives it this very dainty, elegant touch. So that's my plan for that. The rest of my Make 9 is a little bit more up in the air, leaving room for me to change my mind as I go through the year. So one of the pieces I have had in mind is the Live Top by Moreca Knit. Moreca Knit? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this top, the thing that makes it really beautiful to me is this asymmetrical hemline. It is also meant to have a mock neck. I think given it's a sleeveless top, I would probably try to modify it to be more of a boat neckline. But yeah, there's something about this top that is just really drawing me in, and I think it's that, again, the modern touch of the asymmetry in the hem. I saw another creator, and I'm blanking on her name. If I remember it, I'll put it in the description, but she made the Moreca Knit Live Top. She made this pattern, but she ended up adding sleeves to it, specifically bell sleeves that are kind of similar to the bell sleeves that I'm knitting on my holly off-shoulder top. And I thought it looked so beautiful. So that's something I'm thinking about, is some variation on an interesting cut, but in a fabric that would be wearable in the winter, in the spring, or in the fall. So yeah, that's one of the pieces. My next thing that I'm thinking of knitting, or something similar, is the Rosie sweater by Lay Knit. I, like many people on YouTube, was really captivated by the porcelain sweater when Lynette designed that, and then subsequently by the terracotta sweater when she designed that. And then when I saw the Rosie sweater, I was like, this might actually be the one that convinces me to do color work for the first time. I think the reason I have yet to make a color work project is partially because I I love the way color work looks, but I have a hard time envisioning it within my personal style. And a lot of color work has a round yoke, and that isn't something I like on my shoulders. And so the way that Knit tends to create color work that is more in stripes, I think would be more flattering on me. But then I love this like rose, the rose motif I think is so beautiful. And I love it in the colors she knitted in. So I actually already asked for yarn for this sweater for Christmas. I ended up asking for Sandnesgarn Sunday in the colorway Putty or 1015 to hold with Heusser Silk Mohair in the colorway E0 Natural Undyed. So that would be for the base of the sweater. And then for that contrast color, I loved the white and the dark, dark brown that she used, but I was envisioning an even more white and an even more dark brown. And the dark brown that I settled on was Sandnesgarn Sunday 4381 in the colorway Dark Fudge, as well as Heusser Silk Mohair in the colorway Coffee. These yarns, I am still waiting for them to reach me. It seems that the colorway Coffee of the Heusser Silk Mohair is a very popular color right now. So these yarns were all ordered from Wool & Company as well. And the colorway Coffee is on back order, so I am waiting for it to come in. And as soon as that reaches me, I'm hoping to cast this on. The reason I've given myself that caveat of something similar is that I think my goal is to just knit something color work with that striped pattern. And so I'm actually, part of me is still a little tempted specifically by the terracotta sweater, but I think I'm still pulled more towards the roses. So it'll be a game time decision. You'll have to stay tuned to see which one I end up making. The next pattern on my Make 9 is the Genie top by Milena Juhola, and this pattern is so beautiful. I want to knit it exactly as the pattern is shown. I want it to be in a black yarn because, again, it's in my color palette that I've set for myself, and also just I think it's this very beautiful kind of like chic summer knit garment with the cutouts in the front. I know that I love kind of haltery neckline. Is that a halter neckline? What is that even called? A high neck? Just a high neck. I like a high neck on myself. And I can envision this being really flattering. I think, again, I would want to knit this a little longer than the pattern photos show. And I'm pretty sure this is meant to be like a DK weight, if I'm not mistaken. I am questioning whether I would end up modifying it to be more like fingering-y, just to give it even more of that drape. But again, we'll see. And we'll see, maybe I will end up being very inspired by an alternative design that gives something similar. But I like the idea of knitting myself a black summer top this summer. And my last 3 spots on my Make 9 are definitely even more vague than those last 3. And so these categories that I've given myself are a work appropriate summer knit, a matching hat scarf mitten set, and a cardigan. So the first one, a work appropriate summer knit, I have a few sweaters that are work appropriate for the winter time, but nothing that I feel that I can wear to work really in the summer months. And so I'm really just keeping my eyes open for a pattern that I could possibly make that would fulfill that goal. I love the idea, again, of maybe a top that has a lot of buttons down the front. But again, I'm very specific about what I like and don't like. And so, I have a feeling I will stumble across something and just be captivated by it and it'll be done. That'll be what I'm knitting. So we'll see. The next is a matching hat scarf mitten set. And this is also, there's a little leeway in this for the possibility of like a hood situation or like an ear warmer scarf mitten set. I'm not feeling too specific about this. Right now, I think a lot of my hand knitted wintry items are more like cream, brown, or pink. And I think it could be nice to have something that's like a very light blue, similar to the colors I'm envisioning for the Clematis sweater. I'm a Gilmore Girls fan, so I'm sure is a shock to absolutely no one. And I'm just picturing like that Lorelai Gilmore light blue. I know like in the episode, like the I Smell Snow episode, she has her little blue hat on, and like I feel like blue could have a similar effect on me that it has on her. Obviously, I lack the beautiful blue eyes that she has that really just make that color pop even more. But I don't know, every time I see someone out and about in these winter months with their blue scarf, their very, very light blue scarf, or their very, very light blue hat, I'm just like, dang, that's gorgeous. So that's the dream. We'll see if I can make it a reality this year. And then the last piece on my Make 9 is a cardigan. I think one of the most shocking things about my knitting journey thus far is that I am yet to make a cardigan that has buttons. And I know that technically the Clematis sweater could fit that bill, but I don't know, I'm envisioning that as more of a pullover. I am wanting like a real cardigan, buttons down the front, functional buttons, so I can wear it open, I can wear the top button, I can wear, you know, I've knit, obviously I knit the picnic cardigan last year, and in 2014 I knit the Robinson wrap cardigan. So two technically cardigans that both had double knitted button bands. So I am, you know, I'm very well versed on the double knitted button band, but neither of them had actual buttons to go in that band. So I've never knit a buttonhole, which is crazy. And so I think I'm kind of missing that right now in my wardrobe, just something, a button-up cardigan, something I can wear multiple ways. Yeah, we'll see where that one takes me. I think I've flip-flopped around quite a bit on exactly what I would want for that. There's been, you know, last year when I thought about wanting to knit a cardigan, I was thinking more so about like a cabled cardigan, but then Kutova Kika came out with the picnic cardigan, and that was that. That was what I was knitting. So I'm someone who loves to just be inspired, and I know what I like. I've always known what I like. And so I'm feeling really excited about leaving these 3 spots in my Make 9 that are really, really, really open for interpretation, but still entering the year with a goal. So let me know what you think about my knitting goals for this year for myself, and whether any of these are on your Make 9 as we're entering 2026. And so with that, I think that brings us into my 2026 gift knit goals. If you are someone who I'm very close to in my life, who I love very much, and you know who you are, you should not watch this part of the video or it will give away what I am possibly making you for Christmas this year. If you want to be surprised for Christmas 2026, you should consider yourself cautioned. I mentioned this in my first video. I am really trying to be very intentional about making my gift knits throughout the calendar year this year rather than waiting for December for all of them. And I'm trying to use my gift knits as an opportunity to make things and practice techniques that I might not necessarily like want for myself, but that I'm very excited to knit and make for someone who I know will appreciate them. And so that was like my idea with the My Favorite Things sweater that I made for my mom for Christmas this past year. That's a pattern by Kutova Kika. And again, that sweater was a raglan, which I don't like raglans on myself. It was all over cable knit. It was all these different cables all at once. And an absolutely gorgeous sweater that I wanted to knit so badly, but I knew I would not get wear out of. And so having someone to knit it for allowed me to scratch that itch and make something I'm really proud of, but then also know it's going to a good home. And so I think that's my general idea behind my Make 9, is finding patterns that I genuinely want to knit, matching those patterns to someone who I think will like them, and knitting them throughout the year. And so those are my 3 goals. And with that, these are my goals for my gift knits for 2026. So my first gift knit goal for 2026 is a gift I hope to make for my mom. And these gift knit goals are not in any kind of chronological order. I will just make them as the inspiration strikes, or I find a good yarn, or whatever. So for my mom, this has also been something I've been planning on making for at least a year now. And these are the Songbird mittens. My mom, I showed her these mittens a few years ago when I first saw them. I think it was when Woozy by Celine made them. I was like, oh my God, I have to make those too. And so I had my eye on that pattern, and my mom loves cardinals. So and she loves the color red. And so I immediately knew I needed to make a pair of these mittens with red yarn and white. So like the bird being red. And so this is the yarn that I have for these mittens. I have this white and this red. And these yarns I bought when I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Both of these yarns are Camper yarn by Kelborn Woolens. This yarn is a super fine yarn. It feels more fingering-y to me. I guess when you pull it tight, it could be more fine. So there's a possibility I'll have to hold it with a mohair, but I have a feeling I'll have plenty of scraps I can use in my stash. And so yeah, so this is on the docket. I'm actually hoping to cast this project on as soon as I'm done with both of the sleeves of my Holly off-shoulder sweater, because I've run out of cables for my smallest needles. And so I need to use one of the cables off of that project so I can start the mittens. So that is the first item that is on my radar as a gift knit for this year. Also on my radar for gift knits, for my dad, I am envisioning knitting him a vest. I don't know why I'm envisioning this. I think, well, part of me is afraid of knitting a man a sweater, because it would take so long, which is fine. I'm someone who doesn't care if a knit project takes me a long time, but like to make all of the gift knits I want to make, that just does not feel conducive to me knitting a whole sweater. And you know, like this is just a goal for me for this year. Maybe next year my goal won't be to make handmade gifts for all these people, but I don't know. It's just that feels like a huge commitment. So I feel like a vest is a good, a good in between. One vest pattern I found that I really liked is the classic camel vest by Tara John Manning. It has buttons and like a little cable detail. It seems like it would be a pretty mindless pattern, but something that I think my dad would actually wear a lot. So that's something I'm thinking about for him. For my brother, he specifically is interested in some kind of black beanie with a ribbed pattern preferably. And fortunately, Veronika Lindberg really pulled through again in her Knits to Wear book. She has a beanie in that book, meaning I wouldn't have to pay for the pattern. I would just have to pay for yarn. And that beanie pattern is the Keep It Together hat. And so, yeah, I think perfect pattern that my brother would like. Just need to get the yarn. And then at some point when I'm looking for, a knit that is pretty quick and maybe a little more mindless, that's one that is on my mind. And then that brings us to my gift knit for Mr. Pip, my boyfriend. He is a hard one to think about gift knitting for, specifically because I'm afraid of the sweater curse. I'm gonna admit it. I'm really scared of the sweater curse. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's this thing that I have heard about in like every knitting YouTube channel I've ever watched, where people talk about the fact that if you knit a sweater for your significant other, you will break up. And this is not any significant, it's like specifically when you're dating. If there's a ring on it, I don't think the curse holds anymore. And so my boyfriend and I are not engaged. And so my dream project would be to knit him. I think like for some reason I've always had in mind the Moby sweater by Petite Knit in like, I don't know, I love like navy and olive green and burgundy on him. And so I've always envisioned that, but like the curse is too scary for me. So I really have to do some thinking about not only like what he would like to wear, but also what I'm willing to knit him. So we'll see. He also just loses everything. He loses all of his, like every hat he has ever owned, every pair of gloves, he can hold on to them for like a few months and then they disappear. So that's something else I'm keeping in mind. It's like, if this is going to be something I'm spending a lot of time making, like I would want it to be something he wouldn't lose. And, you know, last year I made him a pair of slippers that totally failed, but that was before the sailor slipper pattern came out. So now I'm like, maybe the sailor slippers would be a good choice, because it's like you wear them in the house, you're not wearing them out. So like, how do you lose those? I don't know, maybe he'd find a way. And then I can make it in his favorite colors, which he is a Florida Gators fan. Oh, and the Florida Gators have the worst color palette. I'm so sorry. But it's like a neon orange and a bright green and blue. And it's just not great. And so then that way I could like actually make these slippers in his favorite colors, and he can enjoy them and love them, but they'll stay in the house. So that's an idea, but we'll see. The next pattern I'm hoping to make is something for my grandfather. A man I'm obsessed with. I love my grandfather, and I'm envisioning making a scarf for him. He is a guy who likes a scarf, and I'm envisioning something that is cabled in some kind of blue color, because he has bright blue eyes, and I always love the way he looks in any shade of blue. And one pattern I found that I really liked is the Man of Aran scarf by La Boutique de Jeanne. I can't speak French, so I apologize for that one. But I thought it was a beautiful scarf pattern, and so I could totally see him wearing it. So we'll see. Maybe that will be the one I pick for him. The next pattern on my gift knit list is something for my aunt. She is very knitworthy. She loves my knitting. Something about her, she loves a fingerless mitten. But I did get her fingerless mittens this past Christmas. So I don't know if that would be, I bought those ones though. They were also handmade, but they weren't knit. They were like made with like a fleecy fabric, like recycled fleecy fabric. It was really beautiful. But I do think I could knit her a pair that she would probably really like. The thing is, like, the only pattern that I was looking at fingerless gloves to try to prep for this. The only pattern I found that I kind of liked is the penny gloves. But I think I'd prefer something a little bit more decorative and ornate, like something with a cable on it. So like maybe it is I buy the penny gloves and I make my own cable on there. Maybe I find another pattern. But yeah, I'm thinking fingerless gloves. I've made her a knitted like wintry headband before, and I don't think she really is someone who would like wear hats too much. So I don't think a hat is something that I should make her. So she's one I'm thinking about. That is like a very soft placeholder for her. And if I think of something else, I will make it. And then the last people I'm for sure planning on making gifts for are my two best friends from graduate school. They are very knitworthy. I knit for them every year. As I'm sure you saw, I made them Christmas stockings this past year. And thinking ahead to 2026, I am hoping to make them more of something they can wear again. I've also made them a knitted headband in the past, and they both love their headbands. There's two kind of possibilities I'm thinking about, and I think they will both kind of come down to timing, what I'm interested in wanting to knit, and just like, yeah, the amount of time that I have to put into these knits as a girl who has a job. You know, I only have so much time. And so I think two options that I'm thinking about are number one, the Vivienne beanie by Sari Nordlund, and number two, the Berlin scarf by Susanne Muller. I love both of these patterns, and I have knit the Vivienne beanie before. Let me actually grab that for you. So this is the Vivienne beanie that I knit in 2024. This was the first time I ever did cables, and I knit it in Knitting for Olive, of course, merino and soft silk mohair in their just like natural white colorway, and I put, of course, a pom-pom on the top. I knit this, so it was the fingering weight merino and the lace weight mohair held together, and the fabric that resulted, so beautiful, but quite thin, and so it wasn't very warm. And so what I ended up doing is I actually then hand sewed a fleece lining into the hat after I finished it, and now I simply love this thing. This is like my warmest hat, and I think it's really pretty too. And so that's all to say, I've knit this pattern before. I own it. It is in my library. I know I love it. And I think for them, I would knit the hat using the DK weight yarn and hold that with a lace weight to give it a little bit more bulk. Yeah, and keep it a little bit more warm. Or I would knit the Berlin scarf, which has always been something I've eyed. I have my own pretty large scarf that's like more of a felted fabric, but gives that same look that I thrifted actually when I was in college, and it's my favorite scarf. So when I saw this pattern, I was like, that is so fun. That is so cool. I don't need it. So I've never made it for myself. So again, the idea of being able to make it for someone else is something that I find exciting. So we'll see. We'll see which of those I end up doing. Regardless, I will probably make them the same thing. I am someone who really wants everyone to know that I love them equally, and so I will definitely be knitting them the same pattern no matter what, because I would hate for someone to be disappointed or like, why did you knit her this, and whatever. They wouldn't care. This is not because of them. This is because of me. So yeah. And then I again have a little spot with some question marks because who knows? I might knit some more gift knits. I don't know. We'll just see where the year takes me. So with that, we have come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video maybe give you some knit inspiration, give you some inspiration for finding ways to be more mindful with your knitting as you're entering 2026. If you'd like, comment below either a pattern you're really looking forward to making this upcoming year, or if you have any suggestions for the kind of knits where I'm like, I don't know which one I'll make. I would love to hear your thoughts, or whether you have any suggestions for me. And yeah, thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you with my next video. All right, bye.